life, work, and particularly other people, especially other people that we work with, can often make life seem like it is a living hell. It's true. Sometimes people are assholes, and sometimes we are trapped in relationships or situations. We're stuck with them in a certain environment. And is there any other way to make a bad situation better? Also, what we're going to talk about in this video is how are we actually, sometimes without even knowing it, secretly making the situation way worse than it actually is. Let's dive in together. Hey everyone, welcome. Leslie Huddart here. I am an acupuncturist, healer, and spiritual guide, and I help healers, empaths, and HSPs really release the trauma trapped in their body without years of therapy by really understanding how the technical side of the subtle body, the mind-body connections, actually work on a deep level. And in this video, I'm actually wanting to get a little more technical with you here, because we're getting down to this tricky area of what is actually happening when we are facing a difficult situation that involves other people. So we know on the personal spiritual growth path that we shouldn't be victims, that we're, sort of new agey good things, positive things, like we're creating our own reality. But when it comes in the moment, when the really hits the fan and you got people at work who are up in your face, you have people, friends or coworkers who seem to be criticizing you, when you feel overwhelmed, when it feels like people are attacking you, there are things that are happening not just on the surface, but actually sometimes unbeknownst to us, things that are happening in our inner world that are actually the real problem. So our job is to really get free from those. I want you to think about, what would it be like to sometimes stay in the same crappy situation, but actually feel unaffected and joyful on the inside? That's what we're going to give you and walk you through in this video. So I actually want to hop over to my screen because I want to show you some things and walk you through it step by step. Let's do that now.
Hey, so let's walk through this together. Now, I thought about different titles for this video. I think it could be a couple. Essentially, we could call this challenges versus suffering. We could, in a way, this is an aspect of following our heart in life versus following the mind, or just how to not let your mind make tough situations unbearable. Because in every situation, there are these two aspects. There is what's actually happening in the outer world. And we notice that this is categorized by objective observership. Like if we could pull five different people off of the street, they would all have similar-ish sort of descriptions of what's happening to you, which would not be as personalized because they're just watching them. And verifiable words and actions, what actually was said, what actually happened. So that's sort of what's happening in the outer world. And then what most of us, and where we really are getting tripped up, where we really are suffering, is what the mind is making up and beating us over the head with. Now, the way that we notice that this is happening is that it feels personal. It feels about me. It feels directly like an attack. Like I need to be defensive, that I'm trapped, that I'm a victim, that there's nothing I can do. This is out of my control, that I am made to feel this way and there's no other choice or options, and that other people are really telling me that I'm shit. So of course I feel that way too. So this is generally what's happening. So I want you right away to make a mind shift, that anytime you start to notice these red little dots of, wait a minute, this is feeling a little personal, that you realize that you are in this realm, that without even noticing, that the mind is actually harming you at this moment, that you're not in the world of objective outer world challenges. You are being pulled into the world of suffering by your mind. So the first sort of step that we notice is, one, we start to notice, where are these thoughts and perspectives coming from? We start to cultivate our observer mind, the part of us that actually is a higher aspect of our mind that watches what's actually happening and connect more with this outer world, what's happening. So the outer world, and what I want you to hear overall throughout this training is that, yes, life is not without challenges, but what we are getting as we build discernment and wisdom here is, what's the difference between a challenge, which is just like a little blip that comes up. It's not fun. There's challenges in life. There's things that we don't like. So at the level of preference, or it's a little difficult, or it's a little challenging, or yeah, some things are easy and some things are not easy and fun. So all of those things are challenges, and we acknowledge that those happen in life. No embodied human goes through life only having puppies and rainbows. But there's a difference between challenges coming up and suffering, which has to do with everything about how the mind takes it, about how it feels, about the angst and the activation that comes up in our body. So that's a big differentiation that we're making here. So let's look at this. Here's what your mind, if you haven't noticed, if you haven't caught it, your mind is going to tell you a certain story, what's happening. So you might not even notice because it just sounds like the thoughts in your mind. The mind focuses on some outer world object. It could be other people. It could also be a situation. It could be a company. It could be just life. It could be God in the universe smiting me and giving me lots of difficulty. Whatever it is, it's something outside of yourself that the mind is going to focus on. And then it's going to create stories about what's happening. It's going to say things like, in this arrow direction, that outer thing, those people, they're attacking me, they're criticizing me, they're making me feel this way, or I feel this way because they're doing this to me. And they think all these stories about me. They think I'm slow. They think I'm stupid. They think I'm incompetent. They're making up stories about me that are not true. And that is why I feel terrible. That's why I'm having trouble right now. Now you'll notice all this whole scenario and aspect is rife, is sitting in the soup of these characteristics. It feels personal. It feels like it's about me. It feels like attack coming towards me. It feels like I need to be defensive. It feels like it's out of my control. I'm stuck here being victimized by their bull. They are making a comment about my worth, and that's why I feel this way. They're saying I'm unworthy, and that's why I feel unworthy. So, this is a very compelling story and it's going to feel really true. But this is where we start to bring in discernment because you notice that these same themes are here the whole time. So, this is what your mind tells you is happening. Now, let's look at what's actually happening. What's actually happening, and I offer this to you as a working hypothesis. You don't have to take it as true or untrue, but I would ask you to use it as a working hypothesis because I promise when you really test it out, you'll find that it's true. So, what's actually happening is that in your inner world, there is actually already a wound or a mind error. It's not a true thing, but it's a misconception of your mind and your belief about who and what you really are. And this is very sneaky. Sometimes we don't even notice that this is here. Now, we go deeper in this in deeper trainings, but what is really happening is there are these several, there's only two or three that every human makes on some level, that we are inherently unworthy, that God in the universe got everybody else right except me, that I'm going to end up alone and I don't want anybody to notice. So these mind errors are so deep and so terrifying to the mind that the mind does not want to look at it. That's why the mind does its story. It's a smokescreen to say, whoa, don't look at that deeper stuff, that there could actually be something wrong with us. Blame it on those other people and then get upset. But the truth is that the real source is within us. So what happens is we have already a source of unworthiness. And because of that, and because the mind is trying to shield and distract us from that, it will sort of project it out onto other people and make it look as if it's coming from outward inwardly. But the truth is that the real source is within us. And you can think about this. This is logical. Two people could experience the same kind of treatment, but one, let's say you're two people who work in an office, you essentially did the same project, and you both got kind of crappy treatment from the boss. The boss was unhappy with what both of you did. But one person, person A, might be like, yeah, cool. You want to go get a coffee? And then the next person B could spend the whole 48 hours just like losing sleep and thinking about it and being upset about it and going over and over about what they were going to say to Bob next time they saw it. One person can't help it but take it personally. That's because they have the Velcro of unworthiness and this mind error on the inside. So this is just a little bit of dip into starting to see how it's actually within us, the velcro of what's really causing us to suffer. Now, I want to be really clear at this point. Bob still might be an asshole and a terrible communicator. We're not absolving Bob or the bad boss or the other people for their bad behavior. It's not great. It's not right. It's not a great way to happen, but challenges are everywhere in life, and other people's behavior constitutes a challenge. But what we're looking for here is, when does a challenge become inner suffering? That's when we know it's on our 50%. So you'll notice the things that you hear are still the same, but where they're really coming from is here. And the way that we know that is these little telltale signs are still there. It feels personal. It's about me, like it's attack. I need to be defensive. I'm trapped. There's nothing I can do. They are making a comment about my worth. So, anytime you hear these things, you know you're in the realm of the mind and defenses, and there's something deeper going on. So, what we start to do here now, when we're looking in, we're applying subtle body techniques, are all about how to uncover where the mind errors and the worthiness is, how to unlock those from the system and really correct the inner source and release that from the body, so that when the triggers come up, you can be like person A, who's just like, yep, Bob must have had a fight with his wife this morning and the shit rolls downhill. So, okay, you want to go get a coffee? Let's go do it next time. So, the thing that we're looking for is to actually start to deeply uncover these. And one of the initial steps that we do is number 2, we refuse to take the mind's version of reality as truth. Anytime we notice that these mindy like symptoms are there, we plant a seed and we think, oh, wait a minute. This might not actually be about what my mind is telling me it's about. Because here's a big differentiation and a takeaway I want you to have from this video. One, anytime you have a trigger, and if you're not familiar with the word trigger, it comes from the world of psychology, of something that really gets you, that something happens and it triggers a response in you. You feel activated. You might have physiological symptoms. I feel upset. I feel like I want to cry. I feel angry. I'm doing mind stories in my mind. There's changes in my body. I feel hot. My mind is racing. All of those things are triggers. Here's a working hypothesis to offer and a takeaway I want you to make from this training. Anytime there is a trigger, it has to mean that there is a wound or a mind error underneath in me. A trigger points to some kind of mind error and suffering. In contrast, yes, because at this point you might be saying, well, Leslie, what if Bob's just a jerk? Shouldn't I feel a certain way if he is a jerk? Yes. But the way that you feel when you get a challenge or a preference that's not being met is kind of like a, oh, well, it would feel more fun if Bob was a little bit nicer and not always yelling at us when he feels pissed off or constipated. Oh, I'd prefer to work with someone who was a little bit nicer and had better communication skills. Huh, I prefer that it was this way or that way. Oh, I'm kind of angry because this is kind of bullshit that he's saying one thing, but he means another. So you might feel a little bit of emotion, but it's a passing emotion. It's like feeling a breeze. It's feeling like a strong wind. Ooh, I don't like feeling the strong wind, but then it passes and it's over and I'm with myself. So, this differentiation between a trigger and actually a challenge and a preference will tell you which area you're operating in. Anytime it's a trigger, we know that there is something, some kind of mind error pinning on that unworthiness or fear of being alone that's on the inside, versus is this just a challenge that's coming up in life that I need to deal with? So, what I want you to hear is that where we're headed is that when you get down to the real source, when you deal with these mind errors and things that are creating Velcro that this outer world stuff is sticking to and causing you to suffer, and your mind is making stories about, when you actually take the subtle body steps and actually get down there to get rid of the inherent mind error that's underneath, you will actually get to the place where you feel some version of, I'm okay no matter what. Yeah, I have a different preference. Yes, these are challenges, but I am inherently okay. So, what that feels like is, oh, other people's reactions aren't really about me or my worthiness. They're kind of crappy to go through. I'd prefer not to. But this is just feedback about how I'm playing the game. Maybe there is some logistical way that I need to do something different. And I can take that feedback because it's not about my worthiness. I'm great at a couple aspects of the game. And when I mean the game, I mean life as playing a technical video game. Life is like a video game. We want to play the video game well. We want to get Mario over the things and not fall in the pit and not get eaten by those guys and get to the end. And we need skills to learn how to do that. But we never forget that the video game is not real, and that our worthiness and our awareness and the parts of ourselves that are real are there unaffected underneath. So when you know that you've gotten down to these inherent mind errors and corrected them, and you're in more of this aligned place, this is what subtle body work does, is that you can feel like, oh, I'm learning about where I'm aligned and what doesn't work well for me. That's great. I'm going to make a plan to transfer out of Bob's department eventually. Or, oh, I'm going to do this with my reports next time because if I do it this way, it tends to set Bob off a little more, and I'm okay with that. I can do it either way. I'm unattached. There's a lot of challenges here, and I don't like them, but I'm completely okay with myself. This isn't really about me or my worthiness. In contrast, when we notice, when we're okay here, you'll notice that there's a separation. There's no outer world stuff triggering inner world stuff. So we can just notice as an objective observer what's happening in the video game and make adjustments. Oh, Bob's a little bit upset about the work that we did. Oh, I'm not producing in the way that they would like. Oh, I'm not currently super skillful at my time management. That's something for me to look at. It's hard to function in this loud work environment. I notice that I don't like it and it's not really suited to my constitution. So you notice how all of these things, when we're clear from the interior mind wounding, we're able to get to this objective place where we notice things objectively. I notice about myself that I'm not particularly good at this skill. I notice that there might be things that are valid that other people are upset about because of the way that I have enacted something in the outer world. But you'll notice that they all have this little tinge of like, huh, yeah, I noticed that. But there's no trigger. So we're in the world of preferences, and I'd like it to be this way or this way, but it's not actually getting me. There's no trigger. Oh, this isn't really going the way I wanted. Oh, this isn't really the way my mind expected it would be. Oh, I think I need a different approach to improve my skills in doing X, Y, and Z. So, this is really where we're headed, of this balance between noticing the higher mind or observer mind and really being free from these deeper mind errors. So, next time you notice something terrible happening in your outer world, you can first notice, okay, great. Where is this story coming from? And if it sounds like anything on this list, like it's attack, like it's personal, that it's about me, that I need to be defensive, you're going to think the thought, wait a minute, this might be a little bit of a mind thing. Then you're going to refuse to believe the story about the mind, and you're starting to go looking for, and this is what we train folks to do step by step, to uncover and see where the body has wired these things in, which is not logical, down into the body itself. Refusing to believe the story of the mind moves us on this path toward being free, of feeling okay no matter what. And then you become a really skillful player of the video game and notice that you can be okay no matter what.
So I hope that makes sense. Next time you see that outer world aspect happening, just pausing for a minute and noticing, where is this coming from? What is the story that my mind is telling me? And how can I really go looking for the source of what's really happening on the inside? You are a soul with a body. It is possible to go through life noticing the challenges, playing them like a video game, getting more skillful while your worthiness is off the table. Having inner peaceful spaciousness and knowingness of who and what you actually are while you're still dealing with sometimes challenges that come up in everyday life. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a comment below. What was the thing that surprised you the most, or maybe that was the most challenging from this video? And it always helps us if you want to get these new videos every week, like and subscribe. It helps spread the message. I am on a mission to help people really get free of the mind stories and crap that are trapped in their body so that you can actually live the life that you are meant to live. This is Leslie Huddart. I'm holding you in my heart. Let me know any questions that you have below, and I will see you next time.